politics has become a sensitive topic. Affairs of state encompass our homes, communities, and relationships. As students, we have the ability to shape election outcomes and condition the future of an informed democracy. Furthermore, as student journalists, we strive to bring you the real facts with evidence, crafting news stories to serve the greater agenda. This is Pride, People, and Politics. Welcome to this week's segment of Pride, People, and Politics. Joining me today is special guest who may make a couple of other appearances is senior multimedia journalism student Gabriel Woodard. He's here today to help discuss the current state of politics in America and break down how it connects to us as students. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course, thanks Kayla. I'm excited to talk about some of the deciding factors of tomorrow's society. In today's discussion, we'll be answering some of the questions some of us as students may have regarding topics such as underlying factors in voting for our next governor, the uncovering of details in the Trump investigation, as well as some early voting things to know. Taking the reins today, have you heard about the 3 Howard alumni, making history as of right now?
Of course I have, and what makes it interesting is that they are all currently in news headlines. I mean, we know about Kamala Harris, who is an '86 graduate and also serves as the current Vice President of the United States.
And along with Harris, Letitia James, who is the New York Attorney General and the 1987 graduate from Howard School of Law, as well as Fani Willis, who is the Fulton County District Attorney and graduate of 1993.
So why did you ask me about these wonderful, powerful women?
Honestly, I wanted to know who Fani Willis is and why is she trending so hard? What is that about?
Well, Fani T. Willis is the District Attorney of Fulton County, Georgia, and is leading the election interference case against former President Donald J. Trump. She defended her personal conduct in a tense courtroom appearance as defense lawyers are seeking to disqualify her from the prosecution of Donald Trump and his allies in Georgia due to her extramarital relationship with Nathan Wade. She hired him as an outside consultant to work as a special prosecutor on the election subversion case.
So, tell us why the Georgia case is so important.
Well, in a scenario like this, which Willis is disqualified, hypothetically, by the judge overseeing the case would then go on to Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia. This would decide what prosecutors the case would go to next. This is important because Trump and 18 co-defendants were charged as part of a conspiracy stemming from a former president's efforts to overturn his 2020 election defeat in Georgia, including the use of fake electors, who the 4 of 19 have since pleaded guilty. The remainder have maintained their guilty plea. The Georgia charges are key because as a state case, it's not something that could be dismissed through a presidential pardon, which only applies to federal matters. Trump's lawyers have long considered this case the most significant legal threat to the jury pool and the fact that it's beyond pardon powers.
So, crossing the state borderline, isn't South Carolina primary beginning Saturday, February 24th? Who do we know we can see on the ballot?
So 7 candidates will be listed. 2 major contenders, former President Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. 2 little-known candidates, Ryan Binkley and David Zuckerberg. 3 former candidates, Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who suspended their campaigns after the ballots were set. The ballot will also include 3 questions on policy matters, but those results are not binding. They are intended for the state Republican Party to gauge voter sentiment.
So what exactly should some of our South Carolina Aggies consider in terms of candidate standings that best support their home state?
Well, South Carolina could be the last stand for Nikki Haley's campaign. It is her home state, and voters there twice elected her as governor, so it would seem for her to provide opportunity for her to compete closely with Mr. Trump. But the polls show her far behind. She has said that she doesn't think she has to win South Carolina to remain viable, but that she does need to do better than she did in New Hampshire, which was 43%, which was in turn better than she did in Iowa, which was 19%. If she outperforms the polls, the momentum could carry her into the 16 races of Super Tuesday, where she would need to accumulate a lot of delegates to be competitive.
So, how can these Aggies participate in the voting?
Well, South Carolina has no formal party registration, so registered voters can participate in the primary regardless of whether they identify as Republicans, Democrats, or independents. However, if you voted in the Democratic primary this month, you cannot vote in the Republican one. So, the polls will be open on Election Day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can also vote early between now and February 22nd, but your early voting location may be different from your Election Day location. Polling site. Either way, you need to show your photo identification. Some South Carolinas are eligible to cast absentee ballots by mail. Unfortunately, if you are not already registered to vote though, it's a little too late to do so. That deadline was last month. But you do still need to have time for the non-presidential primaries in June, when congressional, state legislative, and local races will be on the ballot in the general election in November.
So, considering majority of A&T's campus, it looks as if students have been waiting on a response regarding their FAFSA applications. What exactly may be the issue with the Educational Department and Federal Student Aid?
Right, the Educational Department processing delays for the new free application for federal student aid are set to force millions of college students across the country to wait weeks, if not months, for longer than usual to receive their financial aid packages this spring. This is the equivalent at some level to the IRS not being able to collect tax returns on April 15th. The turmoil has already prompted dozens of colleges to postpone their typical May 1st deadline for their students to commit to their institutions.
So is there anything, you can shed a little light on as far as what is being done about the situation for students?
Well, unfortunately, there's not much at the moment. Officials have been scrambling for months to get the FAFSA system back on track while also managing to fall out from major financial aid delays. Officials have blamed various factors that contributed to the FAFSA hiccups: the sheer complexity of the task, a lack of adequate funding from Congress, and a last-minute change to the financial aid formula after the agency mistakenly failed to properly account for inflation. But officials are also privately pointing fingers at a major outside vendor, General Dynamics, which was tasked with building out and operating the new FAFSA processing system for missed deadlines and delays. So Aggies, be mindful who you're voting for as early voting opens up. Gabriel, turn the tables a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of early voting in general, but early voting specifically?
Voting as a college student is not only essential, but also empowering. For one, your vote can make a real difference, whether you care about issues like climate change, education, or social justice. Your vote can help elect leaders who share your values and will fight for the issues you care about. Additionally, voting is a way for us to honor the sacrifices of those who fought for our rights, to vote and pave the way for future generations.
All very true. And right now, the state of North Carolina is looking at new state governor. How does the importance of early voting connect to the current North Carolina governor's race?
While taking a dramatically different path, Attorney General Josh Stein and Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson have emerged as frontrunners for their party's nominations for governor next month. Democrats aim to maintain and even build on their otherwise limited success in the South atop North Carolina government, where they have occupied the executive mansion for all but 4 of the last 31 years, including Cooper's tenure since 2017. Republicans control the legislature and the Court of Appeals. A GOP gubernatorial victory would essentially kill the veto power that Cooper has used a record number of times with mixed outcomes. What both frontrunners have in common is their potential to make history. Stein is Jewish and Robinson is black, and North Carolina has never elected a governor from either of those demographics.
And as Aggies, we're always looking to make history, so let's take it upon ourselves to go out and vote and make that difference. Coming up next week, we take a deeper look into the importance of early voting. Thanks for joining me today, Gabriel.
Of course, anytime.
Stay tuned for a deeper dive into pride, people, and politics as we speak with campus organization leaders on why politics is important to them and how their organizations are making an impact on the A&T community. I'm Kayla Collier, and we'll see you next week for another segment of Pride, People, and Politics.